Did you know that Coil can also install, service, and maintain those automatic gates that help protect your neighborhood or business? To schedule a complimentary consultation, visit CoilJacks.com. That's C-O-Y-L-E, Jacks.com. Coil Fencing, A-plus rated with the Better Business Bureau, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. He's Hacker.
Talk about a fried egg. I lasted about 5 minutes out there. I said, to heck with this. I'll do this in the morning. And I don't have any inside information. The lady that did it, she got in there. She made it happen.
And he doesn't shy away from opinion.
And I do enjoy drinking cold beer at ballparks. So if that makes me a baseball fan, then I'm a diehard baseball fan.
It's Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
And a very good Friday evening to you, Jacksonville. It is Hacker After Dark, 1010XL 92.5 FM with Aaron Williams. The Hacker Ryan Green with you. Glad you are with us on a Friday to close out the week. Free agency begins in less than 72 hours, Monday at high noon. In fact, when we rejoin you Monday night, right now at 8 o'clock, here on Hacker After Dark, we probably will have some clarity in Devin Lloyd's future, potentially Travis Etienne's future, potentially Monteric Brown's future. Those are the big three, right? I'm going to kind of eliminate Greg Newsome. I've referred to him as a big four for the last 54 days since the Jaguar season came to an end. But really, Greg Newsome, I don't think has ever been in the conversation to be brought back. The big three, Devin Lloyd, Etienne, Monteric Brown. And I think conventional thinking among most of us has been, all right, Lloyd is probably gone. Etienne might be gone. Monteric Brown likely to return. But as we get closer to Monday at noon, I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about Monteric Brown. There's some real smoke coming out of some NFL cities, including Philadelphia. Now, you see rumors from time to time about this player is linked here and that player is linked there. But when you're fortunate enough, as I am, to be doing this for basically the last 24 years, you tend to build relationships in NFL markets with people that cover those given teams. So when I see a rumor about Monteric Brown potentially being linked to Philadelphia, I will simply text or call one of my Philadelphia guys. And I have reason to believe that Monteric Brown is potentially in play in Philadelphia. Does that mean he's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle on Monday? No. But I tend to believe the rumor that's out there that Philadelphia is interested in Monteric Brown, based on people I've talked to today. Same thing with Travis Etienne in New Orleans, right? There seems to be a lot of conversation. First, it was Etienne to the Chiefs. Remember that? And then that's kind of cooled off. Then Etienne to the Broncos. Haven't heard much of that as of late. There seems to be an awful, disgusting rumor about Etienne to the Titans, which let's hopefully not live in that world. But you do hear Etienne in New Orleans. So I call my buddies out in New Orleans that cover the Saints. And yeah, I believe there is genuine interest by New Orleans about bringing Travis Etienne home. Remember, he's from Louisiana. He would be going home to play for the New Orleans Saints, who have cap money to spend. From a Jaguar point of view, and again, we're going to get more into this. We got Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. He's going to join us tonight to do a little NFL draft talk, but certainly some free agency talk as well. Also, John Vogel, who does a terrific job covering not only the draft, but the NFL as a whole. A lot of NFL conversation tonight for the first 90 minutes or so here on Hacker After Dark. I still believe Devin Lloyd is gone on Monday. I think Lloyd's number, though, is starting to come down. You were hearing $20 million per year. Then you were hearing, 18 to 19 million per year. Now you're starting to hear maybe that number is going to fall somewhere in the 16 to 17 range for Devin Lloyd. Still probably too much and too rich for Jaguar blood because they have some salary cap constraints. We'll get to those in a moment. But instead of Devin Lloyd getting 3 years, $60 million, I think he's going to be more in the 3 years, $51, $52 million ballpark. Still a ton of money. I'm not hearing as much 19 or 20 million per year with Devin Lloyd anymore as I am the 16 to 17 range. If the Jaguars lose Devin Lloyd, which I expect them to, I would be surprised if they don't. If they lose ETN, which I think is much more cause for conversation than Lloyd, but ultimately I think ETN will probably be elsewhere as well. Boy, you'd like to keep Montaric Brown. If you lose all three, that would probably not be good. Because let's think about this. If you lose Montaric Brown, you're going to lose Greg Newsome. Well, then your defensive backs are Travis Hunter, Jordan Lewis, Jarian Jones. You did bring back Christian Braswell for what that's worth. Do they see Caleb Ransaw more as a nickel corner or a safety? I think there's a conversation there. But if you lose Buster Brown, you have a need at corner. You have a need at outside corner. That would then go pretty high on the board for what you need to fill this offseason, along with interior defensive line and a replacement for Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. If you lose Brown, I just don't know if that was expected a couple of weeks ago. But I think as we get closer to free agency on Monday, that is something that I'm starting to sense might actually come to fruition. So again, a ton of Jaguar conversation tonight. Max Chadwick of PFF, Pro Football Focus. He joins us coming up here in less than 15 minutes. There's Brian Thomas Jr. rumors. I think mainly those rumors are from fantasy football people. I won't call them fantasy football geeks, because if I call them geeks, then I got to include myself in there, because I've played fantasy football for years. I'm not going to throw stones in a glass house. But I think all of these Brian Thomas Jr. things that you see on social media are fantasy football folks that are hoping Brian Thomas gets traded and doesn't have to share an offense with Brenton Strange, Jacoby Myers, and Parker Washington. Do I think the Jaguars are shopping, quote, shopping Brian Thomas Jr.? No, I don't. Do I think people have called them asking about Brian Thomas Jr.? Well, then there's maybe some dialogue we can have on that one. I mean, if somebody calls you and says, hey, what do you think about BTJ? Where are you guys with him? And you pick up the phone and have a conversation with them, well, I don't think that's shopping. Shopping to me is when you initiate that phone call. I don't believe the Jaguars have initiated that phone call. Do I believe other teams have called them? Yeah, I think that's plausible. In fact, I would probably bank that that's probably happened. But I don't think the Jaguars are shopping BTJ. And as of now, unless they get blown away with an offer, I would expect Brian Thomas Jr. to still be a Jacksonville Jaguar in 2026. Let's continue the Jaguar conversation. Again, free agency begins Monday at noon as the legal tampering period officially gets underway. Every night here on Hacker After Dark, we do kick it off with a big deal of the night and Aaron Williams. Let's do that right now.
Time now for the big deal of the night.
What's the big deal?
What is the big deal? No, because it is a big deal.
On Hacker After Dark.
So as I was telling Baloo there during the 2-minute drill, you wake up this morning to the news that the Jaguars, as we talked about for really the last couple of weeks, renegotiation of contracts, rewording of contracts, right? They did it with Patrick Mekari today. Didn't cut Mekari, as some have asked, myself included. They simply reworded it. They allocated the money differently in the contract So Patrick Macari now doesn't cost as much against the cap in 2026. It saves them a decent amount of money. Same thing with Eric Murray. Refunded that contract or allocated the funds differently. So you also save some money against the cap there. The Jaguars, I believe, in total saved about $10 to $11 million today. They're still over the cap as we're talking right now at 8:09 Eastern Standard Time on Friday, March 6th. They still have to get about $4 or $5 million off the books to get under the cap, and that's just to get under the cap. They'll do that, maybe tonight, but certainly tomorrow or Sunday. And there are ways that they could redo a lot of different contracts on the team so that they might have some actual money to spend. I'll give our buddy Ryan O'Halloran credit of the Florida Times-Union. Ryan is really good when it comes to things like this. And I saw him tweet this out earlier. I retweeted it, so I want to give him full credit on it. All right. So essentially, if the Jaguars want a base to bonus conversion, which is what they did with Macari and Murray, you could do that also with Ezra Cleveland, Hines Allen, Devon Hamilton, Foye Oluokun, and Walker Little. Not release them, just allocate their contract a little differently, reword it a little differently than it is right now. And according to Ryan, if you do that with Cleveland, Hines Allen, Hamilton, Oluokun, and Little, you could potentially get anywhere from 25 to 30 million off your cap this year, which then all of a sudden means you'd be roughly 20 to 25 million under the cap. So you could potentially go out and make a signing or two next week. Will they do that? I don't know. I think you do stuff like that, you tend to mess up your cap in the future. But I don't know if they're going to do it here in 2026. They have the availability to. They did it with Macari today and with Eric Murray today. Next week is going to be unlike what we've seen for the Jaguars for quite some time. Normally, they're buyers, man. Normally, that first day of free agency, like last year, not that they made a big splash, but remember that Monday last year? Oh, it was Dyami Brown and Robert Hainsey and Macari, Jordan Lewis, right? Bam, 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 all right out of the gate. Johnny Munn, Hunter Long, they just kept adding guys over and over and over to this team. You're thinking, wow, they're bringing in so many new players. It's not going to be like that next week. Next week, the bam, bam, bam will be guys exiting Jacksonville. You know, we talk so much about Devin Lloyd and ETN and Monteric Brown. Well, Greg Newsome, Dewey Wingard, Tim Patrick, DeJuan Smoot, Austin Johnson, Emmanuel Ogbah, Dyami Brown. There are 11 guys that are set to hit free agency for the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up on Monday. I expect most of those guys to be gone. One guy I didn't mention, Dennis Gardeck. I believe the Jaguars would like to bring him back. I would like to see Dennis Gardeck brought back. I think that's one that they could absolutely do. The question is, what will Gardeck's market be? Remember, he was coming off a torn ACL last year, so he didn't have the best market. The Jaguars actually signed him in May. I don't think they'd have that luxury this time around, but I do think that Dennis Gardeck is in the Jaguar future plans. A guy like Tim Patrick, right? If you start talking about wide receivers, well, Dyami Brown's gone. That didn't work last year, so he's gone. So you know you got Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, and I still think Brian Thomas will be here. That's 3. If you mix in Travis Hunter sporadically, 10, 15 snaps a game, you still need wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. Do they want to bring Tim Patrick back? What will Tim Patrick's market be for a veteran wide receiver? You know, where are we with guys like Austin Trammell, who played a little bit last year? Some of the young guys on the practice squad. Interior defensive line, I think, is a need. But as I told Rick, that to me, I could see the Jaguars making a trade more than bringing somebody in free agency. The Jaguars have 11 picks, including 5 picks in the top 120. I could see one of those third rounders or maybe their fourth rounder, which is a pretty decent pick, going for an interior defensive lineman. They need to leave next week with another interior defensive lineman on this team. No matter what happens with Devin Lloyd and ETN and Monteric Brown, you need another interior defensive lineman, because right now that, to me, is the biggest position the Jaguars have. Eric Armstead, not getting any younger, wasn't very good towards the end of last year. Devon Hamilton, good player, not a pass rusher. Great locker room guy, but he's not going to affect the opposing quarterback. Matt Dickerson, I'm a big fan of Matt Dickerson. Talked to him in the locker room many times. I'm happy he's back here in Jacksonville. He's certainly a rotation piece. Are you done with Mason Smith? I mean, the guy's a former second-round pick that was a healthy scratch for the last month of the year. Matt Dickerson replaced Mason Smith. This is a staff to me, Liam Cohen, Anthony Campanile, and the fellas. I get the vibe that if you're not working and if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they're going to have no hesitation in getting rid of you. I don't even know if Mason Smith will be on this roster come August. What does all that mean? Well, they need an interior defensive lineman. I think they need to draft one in at least one of the 3 third-round picks they have, make a trade for somebody, or sign somebody. You need to have another interior defensive lineman here at the end of next week. Running back, there's 2 Tampa Bay Buccaneers that are about to hit the market. If you lose Travis Etienne, Rachaad White, Sean Tucker, both guys were with Liam Cohen in 2024 in Tampa. I'm personally a Rachaad White guy, but he is going to cost you a little bit. If you're not going to re-sign Etienne because he's going to cost $10 million per, would you bring in Rachaad White for $6 or $7 million per? I don't know. Does that make sense? That's a questionable one. Devin Lloyd at linebacker. Do you like what you have with Ventrell Miller and Jack Kaiser? Or do you want to go out and bring somebody in? Perhaps a Leo Chanel out of Kansas City. I've seen a lot of Jaguar fans talking about him as free agency approaches, and he's a guy that's played a lot, been in a lot of big games, and probably won't cost you all that much. A lot of decisions for James Gladstone to make. But as I said last night, here's something to think about. And I'm not trying to be doom and gloom guy. I like to think that I talk to you in a world of reality. I try not to be sunshine and rainbows. I try not to be doom and gloom. I try to be right in the middle. That clap sucked. Hang on. Right in the middle. I try to be a guy that's going to talk to you in reality. And what reality is if the Jaguars lose Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne next week, which many of us believe they are losing their best defensive player from 2025. And outside of Trevor Lawrence, they're losing probably their best offensive player from 2025. How many other teams are going to say that at the end of next week? How many other contenders in the AFC? Remember every week we were scoreboard watching with Houston, with Denver, with New England, with all these teams, the Chargers, right? Buffalo. Are any of those teams going to lose their best defensive player from last year and outside of the quarterback, their best offensive player from last year? Probably not. So the Jaguars, among the contenders in the AFC, are already starting kind of behind the 8 ball if they lose Lloyd and Etienne. That's why a lot of pressure will be on second-year GM James Gladstone and Tony Boselli and Liam Cohen. But as you guys probably know by now, if you've listened to me every night, I'm drinking the Kool-Aid of what's coming out of there at the Miller Electric Center, man. I saw enough of Gladstone, Boselli, and Cohen last year to put my trust in them. That even if the Jaguars lose Lloyd and Etienne, and heck, throw Monteric Brown in there for the argument, that Gladstone, Boselli, Cohen, all of the fellas down there will figure it out. That's my hope. That's my expectation. And that is what I hope the reality is as free agency approaches on Monday. Hit me up on the text line. It's on by Lifetime Enclosures. Your thoughts always welcome. 904-641-1010. 904-641-1010. Coming up next, Max Chadwick, Pro Football Focus. We'll talk a little draft class if the Jaguars do lose Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne. Give me some linebackers. Give me some running backs the Jaguars may look at in round 2 or round 3. What about Travis Hunter, Caleb Ransaw, Wyatt Milam, all coming back from injury-plagued rookie seasons? How will that affect what Jacksonville is going to do in free agency? And Max Chadwick is also the host of the PFF College Football Show. We got spring football in Gainesville already. We got spring football starting next week in Tallahassee. We'll touch upon that as well. Max Chadwick of PFF next on a Friday night here in Jacksonville, Florida. We're glad you're with us heading into the weekend. It's Hacker After Dark.
It's golf's biggest stage this side of the majors, and 1010XL has you inside the ropes.
Get live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates.
Teed up by Surfside Pools, San Jose Collision, and Lucas Tree Service.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
Did you know your roof ages from the inside out? By the time you see a leak, damage already exists beneath the shingles. Sun exposure, humidity, and seasonal storms slowly weaken roofing materials over time. If your roof is 15 years old or more, then now is the time to start planning, not reacting. At Endless Summer Roofing, we provide professional inspections and clear guidance so you can make informed decisions. Visit EndlessSummerRoofing.com to schedule a free inspection. Endless Summer Roofing, protecting your home from Florida's endless summers.
Share your voice anytime on the 1010XL text line.
Are you serious?
Installed by Lifetime Flooring.
I gotta say, you're totally blowing my mind right now.
If you can't call or email, text us. 641-1010.
I'm here with Danny Van Sickle, director of the Electrical Training Alliance. Danny, tell me about your program.
Hey, Rick, we're a 4-year electrical apprenticeship. Our students start out making over $40,000 a year, and right now make over $90,000 a year, including benefits. There is no tuition or student debt. You just have to apply and get accepted.
Did you say no tuition and no student debt?
You heard that right, Rick. Once you're accepted to the program, your only cost for the books and the course fees, about $800 a year.
That sounds like an amazing opportunity. How can I learn more?
Just go to etajax.org and you can apply there.
Apply by May 14th.
This is Jeff Middlecoff with Cogent Bank. My associate Ryan Salem and I joined Cogent Bank because we wanted to revolutionize the mortgage business, just like Cogent Bank has revolutionized the banking business. So Ryan Salem and I are able to leverage the power and stability of Cogent Bank to go out and find our clients the best investors, the best products, and the best rates in the entire country for your particular mortgage loan. Of course, you don't have to be a customer at Cogent Bank to take advantage of our mortgage services to buy or refinance your home. We offer jumbo loans, VA, FHA, conventional and investment loans. At Cogent Bank, we offer mortgages nationwide, so we can help you with a second home or help a family member who lives or is moving to another state. Call Ryan Salem or myself, Jeff Middlecoff, at Cogent Bank today, 904-442-9191, to see how we can help you with any of your mortgage loan needs, whatever or wherever they may be.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender, Cogent Bank, NMLS ID 402296, Ryan Salem, NMLS ID 1182429, Jeff Middlecoff, NMLS ID 249086.
Looking for golf that doesn't feel like golf? Welcome to Pine Royale, Callahan's new golf entertainment destination. Play a 9-hole par 3 course, compete in TrackMan-powered driving bays, and get ready for all-new 18-hole mini golf coming soon. As the sun goes down, the course lights up. Add in great food, a full bar, and space to hang with the whole crew, and suddenly golf feels a whole lot more social. Search Pine Royale Callahan and come play today.
Create a backyard your family will love. Jack's Outdoor Solutions, an authorized dealer of Celebrity Greens, installs PGA quality artificial turf golf greens and complete outdoor spaces. From turf to custom hardscapes, landscaping, and lighting, every project is built for style, durability, and family fun. Locally owned and trusted across Northeast Florida, customers rave about their results. Check their 5-star reviews on Google. Plan your dream backyard today at jacksoutdoorsolutions.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focus, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. Obviously, there's a ton going on. NFL free agency next week. We are inside of 6 weeks away till the NFL draft up in Pittsburgh, April 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And you have spring football going on all over the country, including John Summerall and the Florida Gators, who got out on the field earlier this week. Let's talk about all of it with Max Chadwick of PFF. He does a terrific job covering both the NFL and the world of college football, and Max is always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Max, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Ryan?
Hey, Max, we're good, man. Thank you for the time. I know you did a lot of combine stuff this week and a lot of post-draft or post-combine analysis, pre-draft analysis. Let's start there. First and foremost, the 2026 draft class, Max, from a mile-high view, how would you assess it now that the combine is in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of athletes in it, as you saw by some historic performances at the combine. I don't think it's the strongest draft overall. I think we've been kind of spoiled by some past drafts lately, and also the one coming up in 2027 looks to be generational, honestly. So I don't think this one is as strong, especially at the top of the draft. I think there is some good depth to be had on day 2 and even day 3 of the class, but if you're a team picking somewhere in the top, say, 10 of the draft this year, I don't think the talent pool is as rich as it has been in years past. So it's definitely not as star-studded as past drafts have been. It's a very good defensive draft once again. In my opinion, it's pretty good along with defensive line. It's an excellent safety class, in my opinion, too. And one of the best linebacker classes I can remember, honestly. In terms of offensive talent, it's lacking a little bit there, but there's still some nice players to be had, like Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, too. But yeah, I just don't think it's as star-studded or as top-heavy as recent drafts that we've had.
Look, Jaguar fans will love to hear that. They don't have a first-round pick, obviously, because of the Travis Hunter trade a year ago. Max, what they do have is 4 picks inside the top 100. They have 1 second-rounder and 3 third-rounders. You mentioned day 2. Maybe the Jaguars, despite not having a first-rounder, still might leave this class with some good talent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, day 2 of the draft is probably where teams are going to make their money this year, because there is some pretty good depth in this class. Like, I don't think there's a lot of even second and third round picks that I don't think are too far off from the guys that I think are going to go in the first round this year. Whereas sometimes it's not the case, or sometimes there's a huge drop off after the first round or so guys to day 2 and stuff like that. I think there's some guys on day 2 and day 3 even that are pretty close to what the first rounders are this year too. So the depth is pretty good in this class. And for a team like the Jaguars that don't have a first-round pick, it was probably a pretty smart move, mortgaging some assets to move up to get a guy that you think could be pretty special in Travis Hunter. I know he hasn't proven it just yet, mainly due to injuries, but I'm really excited about his potential, and I think that move probably will end up working out for them.
Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. The interesting thing, too, Max, the Jaguars won 13 games this past year, only getting 7 games out of Travis Hunter. They never even saw Caleb Ransall, their third-round pick, who didn't play due to injury in the preseason. And their other third-round pick from a year ago, Wyatt Milam, only played sparingly the last month of the year due to injury. So not only do they have 11 picks in this year's draft class, they get Hunter and Ransall and Milam all back from injury from a year ago.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some guys in there that I'm really high on. I think Wyatt Milam was one of the steals of the draft out of West Virginia. You know, he's a guy that was one of the best tackles in the country at West Virginia a couple of years ago. His length will have to keep him inside at guard, most likely in the NFL, but I still am really high on his NFL outlook too. So I'm really excited to see what he could do for the Jaguars offensive line in the future. Obviously getting Travis Hunter, who's I think one of the best players in college football we've ever seen, honestly, in terms of what he did as a corner and as a receiver. We're going to see a lot more of him at corner apparently this year, whereas his rookie year is a lot more about receiver. So I'm just excited to see what he could do in the NFL, honestly, too. So, yeah, I think the Jaguars, you know, after having such a great year this past year in their first season under Liam Cohen, they have a lot of excitement for the future with some of those young guys come back from injury.
Max, they're more than likely going to lose Devin Lloyd next week in free agency. So they have Ventrell Miller on the roster. They have Jack Kaiser on the roster. Your thoughts there, or if they need to use a draft pick to maybe replace Devin Lloyd, who would be somebody they might look at number 56 or maybe with one of those third-round selections?
Yeah, honestly, if they do lose Devin Lloyd, who's one of the best linebackers that we have in the league, and like you said, it's looking more and more likely that he might exit in free agency. I don't think what they have on the roster is good enough right now, even though I do like Jack Kaiser. I don't know if he's going to be more than, you know, a really good special teamer in the NFL. He was a great player at Notre Dame, but we'll see what he could do in the league. But like I said before, Ryan, I think this is one of the best linebacker classes, frankly, I've ever seen, honestly. And that goes for not only the first round of the draft with guys like Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles and C.J. Allen, but even on day 2 of the draft, there are some really, really good players that you can get. And, you know, one of them who I absolutely love is Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker out of Texas Tech, who I thought just had the best season we've ever seen from not only did I think it was the PFF grades told me that it's the best season they've ever graded for a Power 4 linebacker. So it was unbelievable what he did this year. He should have gotten a lot more Heisman votes than he got this year, in my opinion. And then not only that, but he went out to the combine, and you know the big negative with Jacob Rodriguez for most people was, oh, well, how good of an athlete is he? Well, he tested out as like a 95th percentile athlete too. So I don't really know what the question marks are for Jacob Rodriguez at this point. And honestly, I would take him in the first round of the draft if I was a GM right now. But looking at the stock there where he is right now, he might be available for the Jaguars in the second round, in the late second round where they're picking right now. And if he is, and they do lose Devin Lloyd, I mean, that is a perfect replacement, I think, right there for Jacksonville.
Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. Max, kind of the same question on the offensive side of the ball. I think there's a better chance than not that Travis Etienne has played his final game as a Jaguar. Now, we saw Bashal Tutin last year. He got 7 touchdowns in his rookie campaign. We saw a little bit from LaQuint Allen Jr. To replace Etienne, is there a guy that you could see a third-round pick being used on in the draft, or should Jacksonville maybe look at signing, say, a Rachaad White from Tampa, someone along those lines?
Yeah, I could see for sure. I could see them potentially looking to add in this running back class. I will say it's Jeremiah Love and basically everyone else at running back is how I would describe it right now. Like I think Jeremiah Love is worth a top 10 pick in the draft. He might be the best player overall in the draft. I don't know if there's another running back that I would even take in the second round of this draft. So I think the next guy, for me at least, might be like a third-round caliber player. So, you know, Jacksonville, if Etienne doesn't leave, they could be looking to add one of them. I think Jonah Coleman from Washington is probably my second favorite running back in this draft. I think he's a really, really good player all around. Doesn't really have great top-end speed, which is why he's going to be probably a third-round pick in the draft. But he's a bowling ball, man. He's been really productive throughout his career. Tre'Davious Price, for most people, the Notre Dame running back, he's a guy that a lot of people like too. He's a guy that, you know, could be available for the Jaguars with their first at number 56 overall. I don't know if he's getting to number 81 overall, but I don't know if I would use that pick on him. I'd probably look to address something else, like maybe the interior offensive line or the interior defensive line or safety if I'm Jacksonville. That's probably where I'd go. But Tre'Davious Price, if Etienne does leave, Tre'Davious Price could be a player they target with a number 56 overall pick.
You think Bashal Tutin could be a starting running back in this league? Did you see enough from him last year?
I don't know if I would say that just yet. I think he could be a really good complementary back in the league. I think he's got unreal speed, right? He's one of the fastest running backs that we have in the NFL right now. It kind of remains to be seen whether or not he can be more than just that right now, but he is a dangerous weapon to have out there as a runner and even as a receiver too. Just get that guy in space, man, and he can make a home run happen. So I don't know if he's a true number one bell cow type of running back just yet, which is why I think Jacksonville, if they do lose Etienne, will be looking to add more to their running back room, but Bashal Tutin certainly will be at least in the rotation alongside LaQuint Allen for Jacksonville.
Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. Max, final Jaguar question, then I want to end with a Florida Gator thought or two. You mentioned the interior defensive line. You look at this Jaguar roster, that appears to be one of the weaknesses, and they need to address that in the draft. How would you assess the interior of the D-line in this class?
It's pretty good. We're actually preparing to do our episode on the interior D-line tomorrow. There's some really good players, I think, available in this draft. And I think one guy, if he does fall to them at number 56, that would be a home run pick would be Kristen Miller, the D tackle out of Georgia. Now, I don't know if he's going to fall to 56. It's more looking like right now he might be a top 45, top 50 pick in the draft. But right now I have him as the second best D tackle in the draft after Peter Woods. And I would even spend a first-round pick on him. Honestly, he is such a good run defender. He's a plus pass rusher, too. I think he's getting really underrated right now in this class. I also like Grayson Halton, the D tackle out of Oklahoma. He probably will be available at number 56. He probably will be, and then might even be available for one of the third-round picks that Jacksonville has, too. So he's another guy in this class that I'm a big fan of, too. But, yeah, I think if you can get Kristen Miller or Grayson Halton with one of their third-round picks, that'd be a really, really good selection for the Jaguars.
From a local point of view, Caleb Banks will probably be gone, but Daryl Jackson out of Florida State, I've talked to some people that really like him, Max. I've talked to some other people that are very lukewarm on him. Where do you fall with Daryl Jackson?
Yeah, I like Daryl Jackson. I currently have him 9th in my D tackle ranking. So if you want to spend one of your third-round picks on him, I wouldn't really hate it all that much. He's a big time. He's a big, huge player with almost 35-inch arms, which is really good length for a D tackle. About 6'6", 315 pounds too. Not a great pass rusher right now, but he's a pretty good run defender. So that's kind of how I describe Daryl Jackson. And that's probably a guy that's going to be taken somewhere on, day 3, probably third round of the draft. And honestly, if Jacksonville is looking to add a D tackle, I could definitely see Daryl Jackson being one of those third-round picks. I don't think it's worth taking him in the second round at number 56 overall, but at 81 or 88 or maybe even 100, if he falls all the way down to there, he could be a well worth the pick there.
Final moments, Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. It is Pro Football Focus, but they do a lot of college talk over there at PFF, and Max is one of the main guys that does that on the PFF College Football Podcast. Max, I got to ask you, man, Florida spring football is in session with head coach John Summerall. You and I haven't spoken a while since Summerall got the job. Again, we can't talk about wins and losses until September, but 2 months in with what he did in the portal and the generating of excitement here, if you're a Gator fan, I'd have to think you're probably pretty excited with what you've seen John Summerall do early on in his tenure.
Yeah, and he's a guy that I was very high on, too, from not only his time at Tulane this past year, leading them to the college football playoff, but also I thought he was terrific at Troy, too, before that. So credit to Florida, man, because I was kind of worried they were going to be scared off from hiring another, former Sun Belt coach like they when they hired Billy Napier. But obviously John Summerall proved enough at Troy and Tulane to win that job. It's going to be fascinating to watch this year. I think they have a really good receiving core with, Vernell Brown going into his sophomore year, Dallas Wilson going into his sophomore year too, and then Eric Singleton Jr. transferring in from Auburn's a really good get too. Jaden Baugh is a top 5 running back in the country, in my opinion, so that's a great get for them as well. I like Evan Pryor as the number 2 running back there. It kind of all hinges on whether or not Aaron Philo is ready to be a starting quarterback in the Power 4, but I do like, the fact that he gets to work with Buster Faulkner, who was with him at Georgia Tech. And honestly, whenever Aaron Philo had to play in replacement of Haynes King, Philo looked phenomenal out there as a backup quarterback. But again, it's just kind of, can he extend that into a full season as the starter? So it's kind of the biggest question mark for Florida right now. There's some more questions I have defensively with their roster right now, especially along the defensive line, losing a lot of really key players on that defensive line, like, of course, Caleb Banks and Tyreek Sapp, too. But I do like Florida's team upcoming this year. I think it'll take some time for John Summerall to really get it going and compete towards the top of the SEC and maybe for a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to be in the playoff hunt this year, at least. But I think it was a really good hire by Florida to get a guy like John Summerall in there, and we'll see what he could do with the Gators over the next few years.
Max, final question. We got 60 seconds. How big was it for Summerall to get Buster Faulkner?
Pretty big. I think Faulkner did a really good job at Georgia Tech, and I think they run a very physical offense at Georgia Tech. They win with their ground game. They win with their offensive line play, and I think they're going to want to do the same thing at Florida this year. Like I said, I think Jaden Ball is in line for a huge junior year after what's been a great first 2 years for him there. So they're still going to throw the ball a lot with that receiving core, like I said, but they're going to want to run the ball a lot too with Aaron Philo, who's a pretty good dual threat quarterback, and then that offensive line trying to build that up with a few transfers coming in there too. So yeah, I like the addition of Buster Faulkner, and like I said, it makes the transition for Aaron Philo to be a starting quarterback a lot easier when you have a coach an offensive coordinator that you're very familiar with.
Max, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville, man, Pro Football Focus, PFF, where and when they can find your work.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So I host the PFF College Football Show on YouTube and anywhere you get your podcasts. And if you want to read my work, it's at pff.com.
Max Chadwick of Pro Football Focus. Max, I know you're busy. Thank you as always for the time, and we'll talk soon, pal.
Thanks, Ryan.
Streaming live from the XL Digital Studios. Polished by Harbor Dental Care, the locally owned smile restoration experts.
Bret Michaels live and amplified tour with special guest Tesla this Sunday night, St. Augustine Amphitheater. Voted one of the most electrifying and engaging shows on tour. Tickets on sale now at AXS.com. Bret Michaels and Tesla. The party starts now.
Bueller, stay cooler with Bueller. Hey, pal.
Stand back, Jason. I'm gonna
Sneeze? Yeah, I saw that coming.
It's all this spring pollen, Jason. It's outside and it's inside my house, and I just can't stop. I can't stop.
Sneezing? Okay, let me help you with that.
How can you help?
At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can improve your indoor air quality with air purifiers, UV lights, and filtration systems. Every new system we install includes high-efficiency 4-inch filters that work better and last longer, even if you forget to change them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Life can get pretty dusty sometimes. If you spend all day, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
Checkmate. I'm Brendan Cecilia, founder of Checkmate Coatings.
And I'm Chester, Checkmate's mascot and brand ambassador.
Why do you even talk in these ads?
People see me on the trucks, Brendan, so they expect to hear from me as well.
But I have over a decade's experience personally installing high-quality polymer floors right here in Jacksonville.
Well, I'm a professional mascot, riding around on the side of your trucks, smiling at passers-by.
Then could you at least tell people about our 2-stage polymer application process? Give your garage the finishing touch with a gorgeous floor that's guaranteed to last?
A bit busy posing for selfies, I'm afraid.
Years of experience?
Check. Adorable mascot?
Check. The team you need to make your garage gorgeous? Checkmate!
Transforming your floors, making them great. Checkmate.
Visit CheckmateCoatings.com. That's CheckmateCoatings.com.
Hi, I'm Michael Bryan with 5 Star Veterans Center. Thank you to the players for supporting our mission of housing and assisting veterans in need and giving them the tools and confidence to reintegrate into society. Just 4 days to the players.
When your home or business deserves more than ordinary glass, you trust the experts. Capital Glass and Shower Doors has been elevating spaces for over 40 years with precision, craftsmanship, and clean, modern design. From sleek frameless shower enclosures to elegant glass railings, wine cabinets, and any custom glass that makes a statement, Capital Glass delivers unmatched quality, service, and attention to detail. Your vision, their expertise. Capital Glass and Shower Doors at capcoglass.com.
Instant Keys is turning 25. A quarter century of saving the day when your keys mysteriously vanish.
Seriously, it was just in my pocket.
Or when that remote fob decides to quit working.
The dealership is such a hassle.
For 25 years, Instant Keys has been the go-to locksmith service for car keys, house keys, transponders, re-keys, and even high-tech smart locks. You don't have to go to the dealer. Instant Keys comes to you for honest, professional locksmith service. Use Instant Keys.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker, After Dark on 1010XL.
Yes, it is. Free agency on Monday, high noon, the legal tampering period. As we've talked about, deals can be agreed to. Deals can be set in stone, set in motion, however you want to describe it. Agreed to in principle. Nothing can officially be signed, however, until Wednesday, March the 11th at 4 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. So Monday and Tuesday, you're going to see a lot of agree to terms, agree to this, agree to that, but nothing is official until Wednesday afternoon. With free agency on the horizon, you see teams doing a lot of stuff today. We'll begin here in Jacksonville. As we mentioned, Eric Murray, Patrick Mekari, both restructuring their contracts to get some salary cap relief. Both guys will be here in 2026. I never had any doubt that Eric Murray was going to be here. Mekari, there was some question, right? Particularly with the way Walker Little played at right guard when Mekari was out. You also have Wyatt Milam, the third-round pick from West Virginia, who will presumably be 100% healthy when OTAs roll around in May. But it does look like Mekari's in the plans. And as James Gladstone pointed out at his season-ending press conference, every Jaguar offensive lineman that played meaningful snaps in 2026, they're all under contract. They're all coming back unless somebody's traded. So you're talking Cole Van Lannon, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Patrick Mekari, Anton Harrison, Walker Little, Wyatt Milam, Chuma Edoga, Jonah Monheim. 9 different guys that played a lot of snaps on that offensive line are all still under contract here in Jacksonville. So honestly, look, the offensive line had some good moments last year, had some not so good moments last year. I think when you jumble all of it up, what letter grade do you pull out as a whole? I would do a B-. If you want to be a tough grader, maybe a C+. I don't think they were failures. I don't think they were below average. Some games they were probably average at best. That fourth quarter against Houston was a joke. And I know I gave Walker Little a pretty hard time after that game. So did Leon Searcy on the fifth quarter. Before the fourth quarter, though, I thought the Jaguar offensive line held up pretty well. It was just the most important quarter of the game where it kind of got away. But outside of the Houston fourth quarter, a couple other instances, I was okay with the line. Couldn't they upgrade? Maybe. But if they were to start the season with Cole Van Lannon, Ezra Cleveland, Robert Hainsey, Mekari, and Anton Harrison, I'd be okay with that. I wouldn't be worried about that. Speaking of the offensive line, the world champions, the AFC champions, they came within an eyelash of being the world champions, the New England Patriots, who just played in a Super Bowl 26 days ago, have already said they're going to release wide receiver Stephon Diggs, and today they trade their starting center Garrett Bradbury. Bradbury to Chicago from New England in exchange for a 5th-round pick. Of course, the Bears just had the shock value of Drew Dahlman, their Pro Bowl center, announcing his abrupt retirement earlier this week. They've had to pivot pretty quick, so they go get a guy that just started in the Super Bowl for New England in Garrett Bradbury. We'll see what New England ultimately does there. They do get a 5th-round pick, and the Bears acquire presumably a brand new starting center in Garrett Bradbury. How about the longest tenured Detroit Lion? Taylor Decker has been with the Lions for a long, long time. He has asked for his release, and he has been granted his release. Detroit's going to look a lot different next year. On the offensive line, they just traded away David Montgomery. I still like him. Anytime you have Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jahmyr Gibbs and Aiden Hutchinson and all these guys, you're going to be good. But no David Montgomery, a lot of hits to the line. There's talk Alex Anzalone's going to leave in free agency. The Lions will certainly look a little bit different than they have in years past. The Buffalo Bills are shaving a lot of guys off their roster for cap reasons. Curtis Samuel shown the door today. Of course, they just brought in DJ Moore at wide receiver. Taylor Rapp, the safety. Taron Johnson, who's been a Buffalo Bill for 8 years. He's gone as the Bills are trying to get cap relief to maybe make a pretty big splash next week in free agency. Minnesota Vikings, Ryan Kelly, 32 years of age, announces his retirement from the National Football League after 10 seasons. A majority of those were played in Indianapolis. He ends up in Minnesota last year, gets injured again. Says that's it, had enough. 32 years of age, 10 seasons in the NFL. Ryan Kelly retires today in Minnesota. Joe Mixon in Houston released. Of course, the Texans just acquired David Montgomery from the Detroit Lions. Mixon missed the entirety of last year with an injury. Was not a good look for his career. He's certainly not getting any younger. Does he have anything left in the tank? We'll see. But if he does, it will not be in Houston, as Joe Mixon is released today by the Texans. And Aaron, I see that your team, the Rams, not only did they just trade for Trent McDuffie, but they keep re-signing a lot of valuable pieces. They re-signed Tyler Higbee, Cam Curl. They're making a lot of good moves prior to the start of free agency. You must be pretty happy.
Yeah, happy with definitely getting Cameron Curl back. I was a little afraid that we may lose him, but no, he made that big play for us in the divisional round. So, yeah, definitely happy to get him back. But I wanted to ask you a question because you brought up Joe Mixon just a little bit ago. I know that, eyes are set on if ETN's gone, looking at a Rachaad White or something like that. But does Joe Mixon at all to Jacksonville pique your interest?
No, because I don't know what that injury is, and it must be pretty serious if he didn't play at all last year.
Well, let's say that he can play. Let's say he says he can come back and get healthy.
No, I mean, I like the name, but I much rather look. They like Bashal Tootin, right? I think they like LaQuinn Allen Jr. I just think that here in Jacksonville, if you lose ETN, you're looking at one of those 3rd-round picks in the draft, or you're looking at a Rachaad White, at a Sean Tucker, dare I say a Rico Dowdle or a Tyler Algier kind of guy, than you are Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon 2 or 3 years ago, one of the best backs in the league. Age is catching up with him. Injuries are catching up with him. And obviously the Texans chose David Montgomery over him as Joe Mixon is released today. But I do think, to your point, that he probably will find work if he can prove that he is healthy. But as we said, there's a ton going on in the National Football League. It'll be this way all weekend. And then Monday, high noon, the NFL free agency legal tampering period officially begins. More on the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up in the 9 o'clock hour. Jacksonville, we're glad you're with us on a Friday night here in Northeast Florida. It's Hacker After Dark.
Where speed is the spectacle.
He'll bypass him on the back straightaway.
This Sunday at Phoenix.
We had a lot of speed.
Powered by the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Local Union 234. From the station with the most horsepower, 1010 XL.
Playoffs are here, and smart upgrades happen in the offseason. Your pool should be no different. If your pool is outdated, worn down, or just doesn't match your backyard, now is the time to upgrade. Purple Heart Pool specializes in pool renovations. Now is the best time, so you're ready when the heat hits. Veteran owned and built on integrity, communication, and precision, Purple Heart Pools delivers remodels executed with discipline and attention to detail. Upgrade now, enjoy all summer. Purple Heart Pools.
Rick Ballou for Coy Dental. That's right, Carlson Dental is now Coy Dental. Dr. Lee has been practicing there for 9 years, has purchased the company. The Coy Dental team still has the same great dentists and staff. And remember, if you get nervous visiting a dentist, don't. There's never a problem at Coy Dental with light sedation for cleaning and deep sedation for all your restorative needs. Coy Dental, located in Bartram Park.
Before the Gators tip off, get tips from the great Gator. Patrick Young has breakfast with the Drill Friday mornings at 8:30, and they're talking Gators hoops. Take time out with Patrick Young, tipped off by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists on 1010XL.
Are high-interest credit cards and other loans sucking the life out of your finances? It's time to say no more. Let Loan Pronto tap the equity on your home and get the cash you need now so you can pay it all off. Hey, it's Prosser here. Corey and Jack called Loan Pronto in a matter of days. They had $160,000. They kept their 3% mortgage intact, didn't even need an appraisal, and with all that cash, they wiped out all their credit cards and 2 car loans, saving $2,000 a month. You can do it too. LoanPronto.com. Their rapid equity loan program can get you $100,000, $200,000, even $500,000 in cash. Chloe and Ethan just did it. Consolidated all their high-interest debt into one super low monthly payment, giving them an extra $1,000 a month. Imagine. Pay off all the credit cards, slash your monthly payments, breathe easier. Get your life back. Interest rates are at 3-year lows. Call Loan Pronto today, 904-999-1500. That's 904-999-1500. Or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781. Visit NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Are you looking for a place to outfit your truck or van? It's Catlin Truck Accessories. For 105 years and 4 generations, Catlin is the name you can count on. This is Keith Catlin, and we know trucks and vans too, from Lear toppers, ladder racks, van shelving, strobe lighting, roll and lock bed covers, and everything in between. If you want quality products and great customer service, there's only one name. It's Catlin.
Who can you count on? Count on Catlin.
For 105 years, you can count on Catlin.
If your lawn took a beating this winter, listen up. Prosser here for Julington Creek Pest Control. They've just started the first of 3 rounds of premium granular fertilizer. No cheap liquid fertilizer here. Custom blended for Northeast Florida lawns. Their certified technicians apply slow-release nutrients. Rebuild your lawn thick, strong, and green over time. Plus, they protect your home from pests and termites. Call Julington Creek Pest Control today. Our family serving yours since 1984.
In the game of vehicle performance and reliability, Atlantic Infinity is always the top pick. This is Hayes Carlion. Did you know that every certified pre-owned Infinity is inspected, factory-backed, with a limited warranty, and gets the same championship-level service as a brand-new Infinity? Every mile will feel like first class. Check out their full certified inventory now at AtlanticInfinity.com or visit Atlantic Infinity off Atlantic near St. John's Bluff.
Spring is almost here. Is your yard ready? Lucas Tree Service, a family-owned business with over 45 years of experience, is your local certified arborist for tree removal, trimming, and stump grinding for residential or commercial properties. Protect your home, boost your curb appeal, and get top-notch service from a Jacksonville company. Make sure your trees are healthy and safe before summer hits. Schedule your tree inspection today at lucastreeservice.com.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Approaching halftime on Hacker After Dark. 1 hour down, 1 hour to go. We'll take you up till 10 o'clock as we do every night right here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. More on the Jacksonville Jaguars coming up in just a moment. NFL draft analyst John Vogel. I've had John on for years. He joins us coming up here in less than 10 or so minutes. Tomorrow at Rupp Arena in Lexington, the regular season finale for the Florida Gators, who have won 10 games in a row, have won 15 of their last 16 contests. At one point, they were 9-5 and 0-1 in the SEC. They will go in tomorrow to Rupp Arena at 24-6, 15-2 in the SEC. They've already won the outright regular season championship in the Southeastern Conference for the first time since 2014. But tomorrow's a big game because if they want that number 1 seed, and again, I think the number 1 seed is more a prestige thing, dare I say an ego thing. I don't think it really matters if you're the 1 or the 2. But if you're a Gator fan and you want the 1, I get it. Well, you got to win tomorrow at Rupp Arena. And then you probably have to win the SEC tournament. And if you do that, if you win tomorrow at Rupp Arena and you win Friday, Saturday, Sunday in the SEC tournament, then I think you will be the final number 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. So these next 4 games, even though Florida at worst is going to be in 2, they're going to be in Tampa regardless, they still do have something to play for. And if you're Kentucky, well, you're leaking oil here. You're injured. You're coming off a bad loss to Texas A&M. You're in the field, but you're looking at the 7 line. Dare I say you lose tomorrow and lose in the SEC tournament, first or second round. You might be looking on that 8 or 9 line, and that's a line you don't want to be on. Of all years that you don't want to be an 8 or a 9 seed, that would be this year. Because, of course, the winner of the 8-9 is going to have the pleasure of getting either Michigan, Arizona, Duke, Florida/UConn in the second round. So you want to avoid the 8-9 at all costs. So if you're Kentucky, you're probably looking at this tomorrow as a huge opportunity to not be an 8 or a 9 seed in the NCAA tournament. We'll see. Again, big game for Florida. Thomas Houck is probable. He missed the game, obviously, against Mississippi State. Todd Golden at the time said that was mainly precautionary reasons. Looks like that was accurate, as it looks like Thomas Houck will play tomorrow. And if you're Florida, and Golden alluded to this earlier today during his media availability, it's Rupp Arena. It's senior day for the Wildcats. It's the final game of the regular season. You're going to be playing in front of over 20,000 wearing blue, passionately rooting against you. Florida lost up at Rupp Arena last year. So Han-Lockton, Houck, Condon, Urban Clavjar, Isaiah Brown, all the guys that were on the team, I'm sure, have not forgotten about that. It's a heck of an opportunity for the Gators. And Golden said, if you can't get fired up to play at Rupp Arena in an environment like this, then we're probably not the program for you. So that leads me to believe that Florida is very excited for this opportunity tomorrow. Of course, you'll hear the game right here on 1010XL, 4 o'clock. Sean Kelly on the call on the Gator Radio Network. And if you missed it earlier today, every Friday morning, myself and former Florida Gator big man Patrick Young, we do the Gator Bites podcast. We did a deep dive into the Gator basketball team. You can check that out on the 1010XL YouTube, Facebook, Twitter/X, all our social media platforms. We went about 35 minutes, all Gator basketball talk with myself and the 2014 SEC Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Young. So I'd encourage you guys to check that out wherever you get your podcast, the Gator Bites podcast from earlier today here on 1010XL. Coming up next, back into the National Football League, my buddy John Vogel has been an NFL draft analyst for years. Let's talk about this year's draft class. Let's talk about the Jaguar needs. And what about having those 4 picks on day 2? Yeah, I know they don't have a first-round pick, but the Jaguars do have 4 picks in the top 100. How valuable is that, particularly in this year's draft class? We'll talk about it next here on Hacker After Dark.
Serving Jags fans since 2007. This is 1010XL, home of the Jaguars.
If you are an experienced electrician looking for your next big opportunity, look no further than the Miller Electric Company, a trusted name in the industry for over 96 years. At Miller Electric, we tackle the biggest projects in the city, offering you the chance to showcase your skills on a grand scale. We believe in rewarding hard work with the best pay, top-notch benefits, and an unbeatable culture where people actually care about each other. Take your career to new heights with Miller Electric Company. Apply today at millercareers.com. Miller Electric, an equal opportunity employer.
All right, Jacksonville, you know spring has officially arrived when the pollen's flying, the grass is growing, and your septic system starts thinking about getting your attention. Trust me, a simple pump out now can save you from a disaster that'll have the whole neighborhood holding their noses. That's why you call Duck Duck Rooter the only master septic contractor in Northeast Florida. Real pros, not somebody guessing with a shovel. Right now, schedule your spring septic clean and get $50 off septic tank pumping. So when you're stuck, call the Duck, 904-862-6769 or duckduckrooter.com.
He's our Big Mac.
Woo! It's Smash Mouth football, baby!
Tom McManus brings his big opinions to Jaguars Today.
Every Friday morning at 10 a.m. on 1010 XL.
Protected by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
When it comes to glass, you don't want average. You want flawless. Duval Glass and Mirror has transformed homes and businesses across Jacksonville for over 35 years. Frameless showers that wow. Mirrors cut exactly to your style. Fogged or broken glass replaced. Decorative tabletops. Windows replaced or repaired to stand up to Florida storms. All backed by a 100% guarantee. Visit DuvalGlass.com for your free quote. There's only one name for glass and mirror around these parts. It's Duval!
Home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach.
Prosser here for Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. If you've been wanting to upgrade your outdoor living space and just haven't pulled the trigger, you should call the experts at Lifetime Enclosures right now. From glass lanais to screened-in enclosures, Lifetime Enclosures and Flooring is the best in the business. Spring will be here before we know it. So give them a call today and upgrade that area that needs it the most. Lifetime Enclosures and Lifetime Flooring. Showroom just off Phillips Highway. Tell them Prosser sent you.
Hi, I'm Sean Monahan from Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach. Since 1977, we've been Jacksonville's local family jeweler with a beautiful selection of fine jewelry and certified diamonds. But we're also Jacksonville's leading buyer of gold, silver, and diamonds from the public. Gold has recently hit an all-time high at over $5,000 per ounce, and silver is over $100 per ounce. Pay bills, buy something fun. Now is the time to sell your gold and silver for cash and get top dollar, or trade it in for a new piece and get even more at Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach.
Which team holds the record for the most NCAA men's basketball championships?
For over 20 years, Southern Oak Insurance has given Floridians a better alternative to their current homeowners policy. See what you can get with Southern Oak. Log on to southernoak.com.
Our family protecting yours. Southern Oak Insurance.
UCLA holds the record for most men's NCAA basketball championships with 11. Kentucky is next with 8.
Southern Oak Insurance. Our family protecting yours.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Focused, fueled, fearless, Farah. Here's another call on the 1010XL hotline, driven by Key Buick GMC, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville. We are glad you are with us. And just like that, we've entered the month of March. The NFL Scouting Combine is in the rearview mirror, and we are 1 week away from NFL free agency. There is a ton to get into. Let's look back on the Combine. Let's look ahead to the draft, which is next month now in Pittsburgh. And let's look at what free agency might mean for the Jaguars when it comes to next month's NFL draft. John Vogel has been covering the NFL draft for years. The man's social media ID is actually at Draft Vogel. It's what he does. It's his time of year, and John's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. John, how we doing, man?
Great, man. Thanks for having me again. I appreciate it.
Hey, I know you're busy. Thank you for the time. Just getting out of the Scouting Combine. John, from a mile-high point of view, before we center in on the Jaguars, your biggest takeaways from the Scouting Combine. What did you learn over the last couple of days that maybe you didn't know going in?
Well, Ryan, I think the first big takeaway is just how athletic everyone who tested was. some of these numbers that we had come out of here were phenomenal this year. I mean, tight end records got set from, 30-yard dashes to vertical leaps. Kenyon Sadiq leaps 43.5 inches, runs a 4.39 40, and just, at 6'3" and 240 pounds, that's absolutely insane. And then, he turns around and like 2 players later, Eli Stowers goes up there and out of Vanderbilt and has a 45-inch vertical, which is unheard of for a tight end because 43.5 had been unheard of up to that point. And it was just like this with all the position groups. So the one thing that I've kind of noticed with the combine here recently is if you're not going to test above average for your position group in any of this stuff, a lot of these guys sit. When we see these results coming through, like, man, they just get more athletic every year. Yeah, we've got guys that get more athletic, but I think the overall, strength is that most of the guys that would test average or below average are not testing here because why bother putting it on paper? Wait till your pro day and see if you can't clean it up a little bit better. But that was kind of the big takeaway is it doesn't matter what position group you look at. You can go to, Cole Payton, a quarterback out of North Dakota State, running a 4.56 and having a 40-inch vertical leap, and he wasn't even, those aren't even the best numbers for the quarterback, so it was great to see the guys that did test. They were really athletic this year, and I think that we're a little bit deeper at the linebacker and defensive back positions than we actually expected to.
John, this is obviously more your world than it is mine. I'm catching up on the fly. But going into the combine, what I had heard was in the top of this year's draft class, maybe as few as 15 guys that actually had first-round grades. Is that still the way you see it, or maybe the top of the class a little deeper than people thought?
I think that most people are still going to see it that way, at least in the league. I don't think that you're going to see too many more guys, become surefire first-round picks. But what you're going to see is there's going to be certain guys that teams are going to be more comfortable with now, right? And so that's kind of where you want to try to pay attention to interviews and trackers and visits and all that stuff, because what that kind of tells you is who they're actually interested in. Sometimes it obviously depends on the team. There are certain teams that use their visits to try to throw people off on this thing. And, the Rams are notorious for it, for example. So that very well may be the Jaguars this year too, because obviously James Gladstone comes from the Rams. But so one of the things that you're kind of looking for is, when you get in that back end of the first round, this is where now these guys are kind of floating. They're in this position where it's like, well, they might be a 3rd round or a 4th round grade on one team's board, but on this board they're going to be a 1st round pick because they interviewed really well, or their testing or their margins that fits what they want at that position. So that's kind of the stuff that we're looking for as we kind of nitpick through all the different data that we received from the combine. That's what we're kind of looking for, is those potential matches, and those are going to come with these top 50, these top 60 guys. And that's kind of the crazy thing is anybody in the top 60 could go 1st round this year, and that's not hyperbole. So that's where we're at. It's just kind of figuring that part out, who teams are really comfortable with, what position groups are they going to prioritize. And that's the other key here, which is going to become much clearer next week when free agency starts.
John Vogel, you can follow him on social media at Draft Vogel. He's also the host of the sick podcast Draft Digest, which we'll tell you all about. And John's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. All right, John, you led me into it. Let's get into free agency. There is certainly a better than not chance that the Jaguars are going to lose linebacker Devin Lloyd next week. The Jaguars have cap issues, and Devin Lloyd is going to get a huge payday from somebody probably not here in Jacksonville. They already have Ventrell Miller on the roster. They have Jack Kaiser on the roster from the draft last year. But with 4 picks in the top 100, a 2nd rounder and 3 3rd-round selections, John, do you think linebacker would be a sweet spot for one of those picks to maybe find a Devin Lloyd replacement?
Yeah, I think there's a couple contenders in this class, right? When you look at the let's take, the linebacker group and Devin Lloyd in particular. Devin Lloyd is a long, freaky athlete, right? There's a couple of these guys that kind of fit that general, description that could be a top 100 pick. And so, like, Eric Gentry, I think, is a guy that pops at me out of Southern California. This guy's 6'7", 221. He's got 35-inch arms. Did not test this weekend, but he's a very fluid athlete, moves like a safety. That's maybe a little bit overboard, right? Because now we're talking about a guy that's, 6'7" as opposed to 6'3" or 6'2" where Lloyd is. Okay, so now you're like, okay, well, let's try to bring that a little bit closer. Well, you got Kendall Daniels, who's 6'4", 242. And he played at Oklahoma State, transferred to Oklahoma last year, and had a great year. He's had a great career. He's kind of this athletic, roving safety type at 242 pounds. So those are a couple of guys that I would be looking at in the top 100 where I'd be willing to take that shot, especially if they make it to the third round, which I think they both could. And their questions are just, his consistency and his play recognition and those types of things that Lloyd kind of struggled with early in his career but developed. So I think that you're looking at a very similar situation if you take one of those couple guys. But even, when you get past that, you've got, Justin Jefferson out of Alabama who fits that mold pretty well. Jimmy Rolder, I think, fits that role pretty well out of Michigan. And then even if you wanted to bring in another Jack Kaiser type and just have two Jack Kaisers, essentially, Jacob Rodriguez is potentially there in the second round as well.
Rodriguez is a guy that we keep hearing about. He's the young man from Texas Tech. I mean, are you intrigued by him? Because I know some people are.
Yeah, so I think that there's this kind of idea that he's a little bit undersized, and that's because the prototype linebacker is going toward 6'3", 6'4", 6'5", Jack Campbell types, Devin Lloyd types, right? He's not going to be nearly as long. And we kind of saw that with some of the measurements that he got. He's like 6'1", and he's, 30.5-inch arms, which is kind of small even for a linebacker. They're kind of short. But he moved really well. I think one of the questions that he answered at the Combine this week was, does he have the speed? Does he have the long speed to stay down the field with players? Or, could we drop him into coverage reliably and consistently? Well, he answered that. He ran a 4.57, which is well above average for the linebacker group. He had a 38.5-inch vertical. So he's got explosiveness too, which, I mean, if you saw any of his 5 interceptions last year, you knew he was explosive. So now that question's kind of answered, now it's like, okay, I feel a lot better about taking this guy and making him a starter down the road. Might not even be this year, might be next year. Just depends on the situation he ends up in. And Jacksonville could be this year. But that's kind of what he needed to answer, was the speed. And to show that he does have the quickness and the speed to make up for the lack of length. That's one of the things that you can kind of do if you're lacking, arm length or being able to consistently disrupt passing lanes. You can be a little bit quicker. That'll get you there faster. And he answered that question.
Couple of more for NFL draft analyst John Vogel. John, kind of a similar question that I asked with Devin Lloyd in regards to Travis Etienne. I think there's probably a better chance than not that Etienne is going to end up elsewhere next week in free agency. The Jaguars like what they have in Bashal Tutin. I like LaQuint Allen Jr. a lot, but we really didn't see him carry the ball very much last season. Could there be somebody in maybe the round 3 range at running back that you could see bringing in here to join Tutin and LaQuint Allen if Etienne departs?
Yeah, and there's a lot of pick your flavor type running backs in this class. I think someone that really impressed everybody, and myself included, didn't realize he was as athletic as he was Mike Washington Jr. out of Arkansas. And he transferred from New Mexico State to Arkansas last year. He ended up running a 4.33. He's 6'1", 223. So think Deonta Foreman, but with absolute speed behind him. Mike Washington Jr. has that size, and it would be a very nice compliment to Tutin, because Tutin's a little bit on the smaller side. So now you've got that, lightning and thunder type effect. But now if you're wanting to bring somebody that's got more speed and maybe more burst in general, I think that you'd look at a guy like, Emmett Johnson, if he's still there. I know that there's a lot of talk about him potentially going second round. That is very possible, especially with the injury to Nick Singleton this year. But Emmett Johnson would be a guy that I'd be taking a look at and watching him. And then if you want kind of like that Devin Singletary type runner, who's just a really nice complimentary guy, maybe you want to feature Tootin, or maybe you want to you're just figuring out we're going to have a rotation where we're going to rotate all three of these guys. I think Jam Miller out of Alabama makes a lot of sense. He's a Devin Singleton clone to me, except he ran a little bit faster.
John, as we begin to wrap up, you look at the Jaguars, obviously no first-round pick. What's interesting about that, though, is they get Travis Hunter back, who only played 7 games last year. Caleb Ransaw did not play at all. He comes back. Wyatt Milam played very sparingly at the end of the year. So the top 3 draft picks from last year's class all have something to prove. We also didn't see Jalen McLeod out of Auburn, and he will be healthy. And then the Jaguars do have 11 overall picks, including 4 in the top 100. Even without a first-round pick, I still think there's some excitement for what the guys last year, now that are healthy, can do, and what James Gladstone might be able to do with those 4 picks inside the top 100.
Yeah, there's a lot of reason for optimism. And, not just because, those picks are coming back or anything like that, but because this team really surprised people last year. There's not many people I talked to that expected them to win as many games or to win the AFC South last year, to beat the Chiefs, to pull off some of the things that they were able to accomplish with those guys missing, right? Now, I think that Gladstone's definitely a bright guy. I think that Cohen has impressed us all as a coach, but now the target's on their back. The schedule's a little bit harder. So that's where you want these guys to step up to create that sustained success. So the reason for optimism is absolutely there, because of those factors right there, because they were really good last year. If you make those tweaks, you can continue and sustain that level of success. And, I think with Ransaw specifically, you're going to see a great nickel player. That's become a critical component to a defense in modern football, is that nickel defender. And, I think that you can have a lot of trust in them to make some good picks this year too, and to use the picks that they have really well, because you saw that last year. So I think free agency is going to be a fun period. I think that we're already seeing the trade market open up. Titus Howard got moved here recently, along with, the player for player swap between the Jets and the Titans. I think we're going to see a lot more of that. I think it's going to be a very aggressive offseason, and it's going to be a lot of fun, man.
John, tell the good folks here in Jacksonville how they can follow you on social media and about your podcast as things really heat up with the NFL draft now next month in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, we got the Sick Podcast Draft Digest with Emily Van Buskirk and I breaking down the draft every week. We got our Combine episode coming up here. And then we'll have all kinds of prospect interviews. We already talked to Landon Robinson. That's a guy that you guys probably should keep an eye on for day 3 as a Navy defensive tackle. Had a great Shrine Bowl. And you can follow me on X at DraftFogel. That's where pretty much everything that I do gets posted. And then I've got my draft guide as well. That's, it's a beast within itself. It's a lot of information that, I collect over the season and compile into one place. So if you want to view the game differently, go ahead and check that out there.
NFL draft analyst John Vogel. John, let's do it one more time after free agency, prior to the draft. We'll see kind of how the dust settles with free agency and what it might mean for Jacksonville going into next month's NFL draft. We'll talk in a couple of weeks, pal. Thank you as always.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate you.
This just in on Hacker After Dark.
All right, free agency begins on Monday, and we've already had some trades go down. We saw David Montgomery to Houston. We saw Garrett Bradbury, who started at center for New England in the Super Bowl, be traded to Chicago earlier today. But clearly the biggest one has just happened within the last 5 minutes. According to Adam Schefter, Max Crosby is now formally of the Las Vegas Raiders, and he is on his way to Baltimore. The Baltimore Ravens are giving Las Vegas their first-round pick in 2026, number 14 overall. Also, their first-round pick in 2027. That is all that is being reported right now. We'll see if anything else goes the Raiders' way. But again, first-round pick this year, so the Raiders now own number 1 and number 14 in this upcoming draft, and a first-round pick in 2027. And Baltimore adds Max Crosby, certainly a blockbuster of an NFL trade on Friday night. It cannot be processed until next Wednesday at 4 o'clock Eastern. But Max Crosby had been upset with losing, wanted to go to a contender. And boy, he's going to a contender with a first-year head coach, mind you. Remember, no more John Harbaugh. It's Jesse Minter in Baltimore, and he gets Max Crosby in a blockbuster trade on a Friday night. More on that coming up in just a moment. Hacker After Dark, 1010XL, 92.5 FM.
The game's best golfers and one of the most beautiful courses in the world. Catch live Southeast Orthopedic Specialist leaderboard updates from the players, capped by Corona, Campione Law, and TopDressing.com on 1010XL.
Next time you head into a Gate convenience store, look for Form Energy Drink, designed to provide energy, hydration, and focus, straight from Dana White and AB, celebrating those who embrace grit, discipline, and resilience in their everyday lives. Check out Form Energy at a Gate convenience store.
Mark your calendar for Friday, April 17th at the Yards for the second annual Birdies and Bounces, presented by the Mackenzie Noel Wilson Foundation. This premier golf and pickleball tournament brings together competition, community, and purpose for an unforgettable day on the course and courts. Proceeds benefit the Boys and Girls Clubs of Northeast Florida, helping create great futures for local kids. Register or learn more at bgcnf.org and click events. Join us for a day of fun and impact for youth in our community.
Alert! Alert! Termite swarms are active right now in Jacksonville, and once they get inside, damage can happen fast. Termites don't knock, they silently attack the structure of your home, leaving behind costly repairs and long-term headaches. Protect what you've worked hard for with the proven protection homeowners trust. Terminix, with advanced termite treatment and prevention solutions. Visit Terminix.com and schedule your free termite inspection today.
For 25 years, Instant Keys has been the go-to locksmith service for car keys, transponders, and even high-tech smart locks. For honest, professional locksmith service,
Instant Keys comes to you. 1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Still, present, ready. Farah doesn't flinch. Hacker After Dark on 1010XL.
Again, big news in the NFL tonight. Max Crosby, formerly now of the Raiders, is on his way to Baltimore. The Ravens acquire the all-pro defensive end. The Raiders, in return from Baltimore, get their first-round pick in 2026, number 14 overall, and the Ravens' first-round pick in 2027. So Las Vegas, with their brand-new head coach, Clint Kubiak, now has the first pick in this year's draft, the 14th pick in this year's draft, and 2 firsts in 2027. What they no longer have is Max Crosby, who goes to Baltimore. And boy, how about the AFC North? You got Myles Garrett in Cleveland. You got TJ Watt in Pittsburgh. And now you got Max Crosby in Baltimore as the Ravens pull the trigger on a blockbuster tonight. Again, it will be official on Wednesday, next Wednesday, the 11th at 4 o'clock when the new league calendar begins. That is a huge one, and we'll start seeing more and more big ones like that this weekend. And again, Monday, high noon, the NFL legal tampering period begins when you can negotiate and agree to terms with free agents. You just can't ultimately sign them until Wednesday at 4 o'clock. If that wasn't enough for you college football fans, We're right in the heart of spring football, man. The Gators are underway in Gainesville. Come Monday, Florida State is underway over in Tallahassee. Let's preview spring ball with the Seminoles. My guy Logan Robinson is the owner and the founder of Knoll Game Day. He also is the owner and the founder of Bucks Game Day in the National Football League. So we're going to talk Florida State, but I'm going to throw him a Rachaad White question. Rachaad White's due to hit free agency on Monday. Could he be a fit here in Jacksonville? Logan Robinson's also going to talk about Mike Evans and his relationship with Liam Cohen. We'll talk about it next here on Hacker After Dark.
Some people call it X. What? Some still call it Twitter. Okay, I got it. Whatever you call it, it's the best place for up-to-the-minute Jags coverage from 1010XL.
Blue here for the Blue Crab House, located right off of San Jose. It's on Jewington Creek Road. They've been around since 1996. Indoor-outdoor dining. Also, takeout is available at the Blue Crab House. Open 4:30 to 9, Tuesday through Saturday. Sunday, noon until 9. Remember, Tuesday, $2 margaritas. Wednesday, $1 oyster night. How about the blue crabs? How about my personal favorite, the Canadian snow crabs? Whatever it is that you fancy, you get it right there. The Blue Crab House.
After attending a Saturday Bumps and Bruises clinic by Southeast orthopedic specialist, my son's hip and shoulder issues were diagnosed quickly, and he's back playing. As a busy family, we really appreciate their prompt attention.
I've been having knee problems for probably 6 months, and I had heard about Southeast Orthopedics on the radio, and I gave them a call. They got me right in. Dr. Kevin Murphy did it. It was painless, and it's been doing fantastic.
Southeast Orthopedic Specialists.
I'm with Greg from Cycles of Jacksonville, and you've got some really cool events coming up in your showroom on Atlantic near Regency.
We've got some exciting things. All new Euro motorcycle, fresh out of the box. I've never seen it. Some demo days. We got Sully here to give us the detail.
Yes, so March 12th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. we have a Euro demo day. Come out, test ride, and see if this is your next bike you're going to get.
Very exciting stuff. All new Euro. You're going to want to see this. Everybody loves sidecars.
Want more details? Check out Cycles of Jacksonville on Facebook and their Instagram page.
Jacksonville, it's official. Men's professional soccer is back with the USL Championship. Your Sporting Jacks Pro Soccer Club kicks off its historic first men's season on March 7th, bringing fast, physical, world-class soccer back to the First Coast. This is more than a new pro sports team. It's world-class soccer played on a national and international stage. Be there from the very beginning. Season tickets with seats starting at just $10 per match. On sale now at sportingjacks.com. Sporting Jacks. Pro Soccer, Pro Jacks.
At Cannons of Jacksonville, they know that when you're towing anything, you gotta have products you can rely on. With over 50 years of fabrication expertise, the family at Cannons can repair or install precisely what you need to tow with confidence. Whether it's a heavy-duty hitch, trailer frame, gooseneck, tow bar, or any other towing accessory, Cannons will provide you with unmatched precision and durability. For all your towing needs, visit cannonsofjacks.com, where quality and customer satisfaction collide.
And that concludes the Joe C. Jack of All Trades show. Tune in next week where I'll be installing my own French drain.
Joe, wake up, man.
Hey, John, I must have dozed off.
We finished those projects you started.
Whoa, my seamless gutters are actually seamless.
And they're connected into underground PVC drain lines.
And my sprinklers. Wow, look at that coverage.
Next time, just call me first, Joe.
I will, but I ain't singing that song.
Clearwater Irrigation
and drainage too.
Bueller.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Hey, pal.
Stand back, Jason. I'm gonna
Sneeze? Yeah, I saw that coming.
It's all this spring pollen, Jason. It's outside and it's inside my house, and I just can't stop. I can't stop.
Sneezing? Okay, let me help you with that.
How can you help?
At Bueller Air and Plumbing, we can improve your indoor air quality with air purifiers, UV lights, and filtration systems. Every new system we install includes high-efficiency 4-inch filters that work better and last longer, even if you forget to change them.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Life can get pretty dusty sometimes. If you spend all day, you could miss it.
Stay cooler with Bueller.
Visit BuellerAir.com.
The Florida Forum welcomes world-renowned chef and humanitarian Jose Andres at the Center for Performing Arts March 31st. His impact spans the globe as founder of World Central Kitchen, Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient, and global leader using food as a force for change. All proceeds for the Florida Forum benefit the Women's Board of Wilson Children's Hospital, supporting a new outdoor play area for behavioral health services. Get your tickets now at thefloridaforum.com.
We know what to look for. We go right to the source, the connections. But yeah, we go directly to the source.
Dan and John Lupo at Beard's Diamonds talking about what it means to be a direct diamond importer.
We do a lot of business out of India. We do a lot of business out of Antwerp, Belgium, Israel, Africa as well. We will do whatever it takes to get the stone that the customer wants at the best price guaranteed.
So every diamond at Beard's is hand-picked and brought in with no third-party markups. And so with no commission salespeople and no Wall Street quotas, Beard's can price every diamond for less.
Because if they've been shopping, which we encourage, and then come to us, and they're kind of, at first, they're like, oh, why is this $5,000 or $7,000 less?
Best value guarantee, best selection guarantee, best experience, bar none, guaranteed. From Jacksonville's locally owned Diamond Powerhouse.
The family, the relaxed atmosphere, and we're there for each other.
It gives us a big advantage being local, and we love Jacksonville. The money stays in Jacksonville, by the way.
Beard's Diamonds in St. John's Town Center and online at beardsdiamonds.com.
Frank Frangie here for Coil Fencing. Since 1927, Jacksonville has trusted Coil Fencing to protect what matters. And I trust them too. From tough chain link to your commercial project to sleek aluminum fencing your HOA will love, Coil does it all. Did you know that Coil can also install, service, and maintain those automatic gates that help protect your neighborhood or business? To schedule a complimentary consultation, visit CoilJacks.com. That's COYLE Jacks.com. Coil Fencing, A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, proud partner of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
1010XL, presented by Farah and Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. When it's game time, Farah doesn't flinch. Now, the Monahan's golden moment. Monahan Jewelers in Atlantic Beach, your local family jewelers.
Back here on 1010XL and 92.5 FM in the city of Jacksonville, we are glad you are with us. We've been talking a lot this week about the Florida Gators opening up spring football in Gainesville. Well, early next week, Florida State will begin spring football over in Tallahassee in what obviously is a gigantic season for head coach Mike Norvell. Let's talk about Florida State spring football opening up next week with one of our guys when it comes to the Seminoles, Logan Robinson. He is the owner and the founder of Nole Game Day, and Logan's always kind enough to join us here on 1010XL. Logan, it's been a little while, man. How are you?
Yes, it has been doing well. Just got done with the NFL Combine this last week, and now with Florida State getting to spring camp, it now gets a little interesting. It's been a really dry, dead period after the transfer portal window has closed, and now we're all just waiting to see what Mike Norvell has to say on Friday in his introductory press conference.
You know, you mentioned the NFL. You're also the owner and the founder of Bucks Game Day, and I want to get to that in a moment because I got a Jaguar correlation there. But first and foremost, Florida State. Logan, I said this earlier this week. I've been lucky enough to do this for going on 24 years. I can't ever remember an offseason that has been quieter in Tallahassee. I mean, obviously the big news about Gus Malzahn retiring, I guess, but outside of that, there's just not been a lot of news, right, coming out of the state capitol.
Yeah, it's been extremely, extremely dry, and it's been understandable. I put out a tweet earlier this week, and I understand the fan base right now because there's not really much to look forward to, and that's what stinks, I think. And yes, there are some things that you still are going to pull for your team, and if you're an alum, yes, you're still probably going to show up to Doak Campbell Stadium to begin the season, but there hasn't been a whole ton of excitement. And yes, like you said, the Gus Malzahn news was probably the biggest thing during this off season. But there wasn't a big name quarterback coming in through the transfer portal. I think Tommy Castellanos, there was some excitement there. Definitely later on in the off season, whenever he started to chirp and talk some trash about Alabama, so that really got the fan base engaging after the 2-10 season prior. But, after last season, 5-7, and not a big name at quarterback coming in, not a lot of excitement there. And, with Gus Malzahn moving on and now Mike Norvell calling plays again,
there's just not much of anything that really gets your juices flowing this offseason. It's completely and fully understandable.
Logan, we've had the talk about Mike Norvell. I think most people realize why he's still in Tallahassee. But having said that, has the fan base come around, and are they accepting of Norvell's return in 2026, or are they still angry, in your opinion?
I think I would say about 85% are angry. I think going into the 2025 season, it was maybe, 50-50 because you thought that was just a freakish year in 2024 and, things went bad and maybe the college football playoff snub really hit them. But now, I listened to an interview with Jameis Winston he had during Super Bowl week, and he believes he was just in Tallahassee around Mike Norvell and the team and the rest of that coaching staff. And he said it point blank, they've got to get over that college football playoffs. Now, whatever that was, that makes for no excuse that, of course, the next season you go in 2-10, and then you can't even reach a bowl game the next season. That can't happen at Florida State. And so I don't think this fan base is certainly not accepting how this team has performed the last two seasons, but maybe with now Mike Norvell, and maybe there's been some improvements there, but on the play calling side of things, to me at least personally, that gives me a little bit more of some excitement or something to look forward to, because this is now everything's on the shoulders of Mike Norvell to keep his job. Can he do it now that Gus Malzahn's gone as the offensive coordinator?
Logan Robinson, the owner and the founder of Noel Game Day, with us here on 1010XL in Jacksonville. Logan, you mentioned Mike Norvell is going to assume play calling duties. The Gus Malzahn retirement, how far out of left field was that? Was that shock value over there in Tallahassee?
So we had been hearing a few things, Ryan, going into the offseason, even just a few weeks when Florida State was off to face, against Florida on the road. And there had been some chatter that, Gus was even looking for other places elsewhere of a head coaching opportunity. There had been some other schools that maybe he was speaking with and, just trying to see where maybe if he wanted to take another head coaching opportunity or be closer to home as well. And I think that certainly did go down. It's just, at the end of the day, Gus said, hey, I'm going to stick around and do this for as long as I can. And I think there was also some contemplation in his head with also to his family. And he had some personal things going on with his family that he needed to take care of, certainly throughout the season as well, that made him think, so his retirement, is retiring the best option for me. And I think the big thing, though, for us and the fan base was the timing on it. You would have thought that, okay, if these things were happening, these rumblings were happening at the end of the season, this decision would have been made before we get into a lot of recruiting, National Signing Day, all of that kind of stuff, transfer portal, which is massive. Certainly whenever you are looking for a new quarterback, which Florida State was expected to look for a new starting quarterback, and they went after Ashton Daniels. And, Gus Malzahn said, we're going to build this offense around you. Now Gus Malzahn's gone. And just the timing was certainly the odd factor here. But I don't think it was too much of a shock that he would end up retiring or also going elsewhere and maybe finding a head coaching opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree. The timing was odd. And with that, they built the offense around what Gus Malzahn likes. He then departs. Norvell takes over the play calling. Compare and contrast a Norvell play-calling offense to what Malzahn was going to do. Are they similar?
They're very similar, and that's a reason why, Mike had brought in Gus Malzahn. Yes, he wanted the mentorship a little bit. They have that close connection going a long ways back. But those offenses that Mike Norvell called, and also to Gus, they meshed pretty well, definitely with the personnel that Florida State still had with Gus Malzahn coming in. And, the one thing that was starting to struggle, though, for Florida State, I shouldn't say started, it's been a while, was that offensive line. And it was previously ran by Alex Atkins, and you could just tell as seasons and seasons went on, that product there was hurting. And so what Florida State did was when Gus Malzahn came in, they brought in Herb Hand with him, and that was his offensive line guy. And, that you saw the run game get back to what definitely Florida State needed it to be, and also to be able to protect the quarterback. And so you did see a big increase and improvement there, but there won't be too much, I don't think, of a change. There will be some big shots that, Mike will take, but also too, you saw that with Gus Malzahn last year. But I think the one thing, Ryan, that is concerning to me is that they did not go after a quarterback that is a better product with his arm. And we saw the regression of Tommy Castellanos. We also saw the prior year with DJU coming in from Oregon State, transferring over. Those two quarterbacks were not great passers. And I just don't know with Florida State right now, if they're really pursuing and going after Ashton Daniels to be QB1, if that is going to be a fix there, just going off of his experience at the college level. You know what Ashton Daniels is going to give you. And I think they could have done better through there, but it's going to be very interesting to see. This staff has not done a good job of being able to develop one-year rentals at the quarterback position.
Couple more for Logan Robinson, the owner and the founder of Knoll Game Day, with us here on 1010XL as Florida State opens spring practice early next week. All right, the speaking tours have been canceled in large part. There's stories coming out how the finances over there are all sorts of out of whack and have issues. I mean, Logan, this is Florida State University, and the hits to the PR just keep coming this offseason, correct?
Yeah, there has been, and some of those too, some of the reports and such. It's of course they want to throw out the big number in the headline and everything, but I mean, Florida State did put a lot of their resources towards things that they have desperately needed to do to catch up to even not SEC, Big Ten, but really people in their conference. I mean, there's some ACC teams and programs that really have excelled at updating their program with football-only facilities and such, and also to the big upgrades into the stadium with Doak Campbell and getting those suites, the club level, everything of that nature put together. So there was a lot of spin and everything. So there is a sense that there's an obvious sense that, of course, you are going to be down on the money side of things. But whenever you go to, I think specifically for a spring tour, we also have seen that where Florida did that and they limited themselves in the spring. I think too, what Florida State might do again for a consecutive year, I don't know, we'll see what Mike Norvell says on Friday, but they might not have another spring showcase, which, Mike has always had. It's not really a spring game, but it's like literally more special teams of anything, which actually might be good for this team, but it's more of just hey, here's a few 11-on-11s, but here's some actual special teams practices. So the PR hasn't been great, but I mean, is it any shocker to anybody whenever you go 2-10 and then you go 5-7 and you see a collapse of, you go and you beat Alabama to begin the season? How did that happen to where you have a major, major fall off and then you're on the road at Stanford, which I always think of as just a women's soccer team? How do you lose? How do you lose to Stanford? I just don't. PR is not going to be great whenever you have a Florida State program do what it did last year and the year prior.
I want to end with a Tampa Bay Buccaneer, Jacksonville Jaguar thought from you, Logan. Final Florida State thought. Spring practice begins early next week. What are the big storylines? Is it figuring out quarterback? Are there other position battles? What, from a mile-high view, what should Seminole fans be on the lookout for this spring?
That's number one here, Ryan. I think it's an utter mistake by Mike Norvell and this coaching staff to not have a quarterback competition this spring. You can go ahead and say, hey, yeah, in the fall you want to ride with Ashton Daniels, that's fine. But in the spring specifically, there is no way you don't say that this is not a quarterback competition between Ashton Daniels and Kevin Sperry. Kevin Sperry was very highly thought of whenever he first arrived at FSU. Not I wouldn't say through the recruiting process, because he was a late grab coming from Oklahoma, former commit there, and Gus Malzahn was able to nab him away at the last minute. But to me, the things that we were hearing in scrimmages and practices, just also too from some of the teammates as well in the interviews, even to this offseason, of saying how much of a leader that Kevin Sperry has turned into. Not saying that Kevin Sperry is some wonder of the world or he is, better than Ashton Daniels. There's only one way to figure that out, though. And I think it would be a disservice to Kevin Sperry and honestly this entire team, even to the fan base, to be honest with you, that this is not a true quarterback competition going into the spring. I think every fan wants to say and feel confident going into 2026 that Florida State picked the best quarterback instead of saying, hey, Ashton Daniels was him. And so I think that's the big thing. And, of course, to pass rush. Florida State has to get better at the pass rush position. They just sadly lost a true freshman defensive end that had some really good stats in high school. And he just got out with an Achilles injury to end off most likely his 2026 season. But outside of that, Florida State's got to find who is actually going to get to the quarterback. And I think that's one thing I'm deeply concerned with. And another season that they did not do a good enough job there in the trenches on the defensive side of the ball.
Not only is Logan Robinson the owner and the founder of Noel Game Day, he's also the same with Bucks Game Day on the NFL side. Logan, as we wrap up, there's a couple of Buccaneers that are set to hit free agency that have at least been discussed here amongst the Jaguar fan base. Cade Otton to a little bit of an extent, although I think he's going to probably want too much to come in to be the backup to Brenton Strange. But if the Jaguars lose Travis Etienne, which is likely, there's been a lot of talk up here about Rachaad White and what he did with Liam Cohen in 2024. What's a quick thought on both White and Cotton? Any chance they end up back in Tampa?
So that's one thing throughout NFL Combine Week. A lot of chat about Mike Evans, and sure enough, I might actually speak on him in just a second too, because Liam Cohen is very interesting to me. He's highly competitive, and he was, like you said, he was able to find some success with Rachaad White, Cade Otton a couple years ago. Like that offense was churning and doing very well, and you saw it happen with Trevor Lawrence. And his rookie year as a head coach in the league, Liam Cohen, that didn't change much offensively going from the Bucks to Jacksonville. And that's extremely impressive. And Cade Otton is someone that we're keeping a close eye on. I think a lot of us on the beat here in Tampa are 50-50. There's pros of where, maybe Zach Robinson, the new offensive coordinator for the Bucks, says, hey, we want to keep you here. We want to do this. Or do they look in, the NFL draft? I think it's going to predicate a lot, really, if Jaguars are keeping an eye on, Rachaad White, also Cade Otton, it's going to depend what the Bucks do in free agency here coming up. And if they do not go after a tight end, or even a running back too as well, then that opens up the opportunity of saying, hey, the Jags might be going after a tight end, and it could be Cade Otton, or it could be Rachaad White, because I will say Jason Light did say during NFL Combine Week that the door is not shut on Rachaad White. He also acknowledged that the tweets and everything that he was saying on Twitter was not a fan of that, because he was teasing that he was, not treated well with the Bucs, and, he was ready to get the heck out of Tampa Bay. But Jason Light is not closing the door there on that either. And I think the Bucs staff also has acknowledged that Bucky Irving can't be a pure RB1. He needs to be matched with someone else as well.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. Give us 30 seconds on Mike Evans. Has he played his final game in Tampa?
Well, I meant to mention him too, and I think it's weird. The Jags haven't been saying much, and I don't know if that's something that I think the Jags fans might want to keep an eye on. But Liam Cohen would love to make a big move, and that would be to go and grab Mike Evans in free agency. Not saying that that's going to happen, but it'd be something to certainly keep an eye on, as they haven't said anything. It's been very quiet. And if you just think of it, Mike Evans is looking. He wants to go win another Super Bowl. He did see what Trevor Lawrence was able to do last year with Liam Cohen. Mike Evans knows how well that offense works with Liam Cohen. I don't know, just something to keep an eye on. But there is going to be a lot of suitors, though, including the Bills, the Chiefs, and maybe even to the Patriots out there as well.
And it all cranks up next Monday when NFL free agency gets underway. Logan Robinson. Logan, tell the Florida State fans here in Jacksonville as they get ready for spring ball over in Tallahassee. Tell them about Noel Game Day and the coverage you guys will have.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, Ryan. We're over there at Noel Game Day all across social media. Also, to NoelGameDay.com. We got a lot of previews coming up with spring camp and such. And we're also, over there at Bucks Game Day, at Bucks Game Day on all those socials. And BucksGameDay.com with Sports Illustrated's honest side. Appreciate you, Ryan.
Logan Robinson. Logan, I know you're busy. Thank you, as always, for the time, and we'll talk again soon, pal.
Thank you, Ryan.
And thank you to Logan Robinson, the owner and the founder of Knoll Game Day, for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark as Florida State gets their spring practice underway next week with head coach Mike Norvell. Again, like I talked about with Logan, I can't remember a more quiet offseason when it comes to Florida State than we've had in the last 3 months. Obviously, there was the news about Gus Malzahn retiring, but you just haven't had a lot of news come out of there. I think Florida State fans, at least the ones that I talk to on a pretty regular basis, are pretty upset that Mike Norvell is back. They understand it because of the finances, but there just doesn't seem to be a lot of optimism when it comes to Florida State football. And it doesn't help when the schedule is what it is. Games against Alabama, Florida, Clemson, Miami, SMU, Pitt, just to name a few. It is a daunting task ahead of Mike Norvell, who certainly is on one of, if not the hottest seats in America, entering the 2026 season. But they will get spring ball underway next week in Tallahassee. We certainly talked about that. We talked about this year's draft class, obviously, as our coverage of the NFL Scouting Combine has basically wrapped up. We did a lot of review on what transpired in Indianapolis last week. And now it's all about free agency, right? Free agency on Monday. I would imagine by the time I hit the airwaves Monday evening with you at 8 o'clock right here on Hacker After Dark, I would be pretty surprised if Devin Lloyd and Travis Etienne had not agreed to terms with new teams. I think Lloyd is definitely gone. I think Etienne is probably gone. Maybe the bigger question is Monteric Brown, Dennis Gardeck, guys along those lines, and will the Jaguars be able to bring anybody in? We saw some contract restructurings already beginning earlier today to free up some cap room with Patrick McCarry and Eric Murray redoing their deals. I would expect to continue seeing that through the weekend as the Jaguars still have to get under the salary cap, but maybe try to find a few more dollars to be able to go out and bring in a free agent or two when the free agent market opens on Monday. Well, that will just about do it, man. Very, very busy Friday evening here on Hacker After Dark. We certainly appreciate you guys hanging out with us here on 1010XL and on 92.5 FM. And we have a ton of people to thank. Again, Logan Robinson, one of our main guys when it comes to Florida State. He is the owner and the founder of Knoll Game Day. Thank you to NFL draft analyst John Vogel for joining us tonight here on Hacker After Dark. Always appreciate John's insight when it comes to the NFL draft. Likewise, Max Chadwick of PFF Pro Football Focus, as we did a deep dive on the Jaguar offseason and also looked a little bit at the Florida Gators. Max is the host of the PFF College Football Show, and we certainly appreciate Max taking time out for us this evening. Now, we will be back next Monday, and again, I would imagine by the time we're on, we will have clarity as far as Devin Lloyd, potentially Travis Etienne. Who knows what else will happen because the free agency, legal tampering window opens at noon on Monday where deals can be agreed to. Of course, nothing can officially be signed until Wednesday, the 11th at 4 o'clock. But if I was a betting man, next time I talk to you, we will know where Devin Lloyd will be playing in 2026, and we will probably know where Travis Etienne will be playing in 2026. Aaron Williams was your producer tonight. Aaron, great job as always. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. And again, Jacksonville, thank you for spending not only your Friday night with us, but your entire week with us here on Hacker After Dark. As we always tell you, and we cannot possibly tell you enough how much we absolutely appreciate it. So for all of us here on HAD, have a terrific remainder of your Friday evening and a fantastic weekend. And we will talk to you again Monday night right here on Hacker After Dark beginning at 8 o'clock. Until then, good night, Jackson.